Great. Thank you so much for the introduction, Leah. It's a pleasure to be here today for this topic of remote job search and networking for grad students. A little bit about myself and my role. My name's Kira, as Leah mentioned. My preferred pronouns are she and her. And I'm part of a team of 2 career advisors at the Center for Career Action who work specifically with grad students. So my colleague Phil and I, we support all the master's students, PhD students, and postdocs at U Waterloo in all topics related to employment and career. And if you have any questions following this workshop, or this webinar, I should say, please feel free to reach out to me. This is my email address, kbruschke@uwaterloo.ca. I've been doing career and employment counseling and advising for the last 12 years. And as part of my training, I actually have a background in mental health. So I was very excited when I was asked to take part in this wellness series. I'm a registered psychotherapist. I have a master's in counseling psychology. And I care very much about that intersection of mental health and well-being and career identity, career planning, career decision-making, and job search. They really are 2 things that are important that go together really well. And so I'm glad to be able to talk to you about that today. On that note, because job search and networking is a very personal topic and can also be a very stressful topic for some people, I just want to make sure that we're creating a safe space, a community here where everyone feels safe to ask questions. I know this session is being recorded, so if you wish to ask questions anonymously, I've set up a feature where you can use Mentimeter to ask questions and to participate. And I want to make sure this is a welcoming space so that you feel comfortable asking any of your questions that come up. Another thing that I'd like to acknowledge at the beginning of this session is that as a white settler, I want to acknowledge that I live and work and play and create on the land that is the traditional territory of the Anishinaabe, Haudenosaunee, and Neutral peoples. The University of Waterloo and the place where I live and work is on the Haldimand Tract, and that is land promised to the 6 Nations, and it encompasses 10 kilometers on each side of the Grand River. As we begin today, I want to share a little bit of a story with you about my personal job search journey and my experience with it. And I went through an experience after my undergraduate degree, which I think was partly the reason I went into career counseling eventually, many years later. I remember when I graduated, I didn't have much of a direction after my undergrad degree, and I moved into my parents' house again. I had been living on my own, but moved back to their town after graduating and was job searching for a number of months with no clear goal. I was just applying online, and I'm not going to tell you exactly what year I graduated, but at that time there was no Wi-Fi. The only internet connection in the entire house was in the basement, and so every day I would spend hours in a dark basement job searching, applying to jobs online, sending out resumes and cover letters, but not really sure if I was going about it right. And it became very exhausting, very isolating. And you can imagine sitting in a dark room every day, what that might have done to my mental health. It was a tough time. And it wasn't working for me. And eventually a friend of mine who was living in Toronto said, why don't you come stay with me for a while and job search and drop off your resumes in person? And I did have one idea in mind. I wanted to work with international students. I had been applying to different universities and I was interested in teaching English as a second language. So I took my resume and I went to different language schools in downtown Toronto and had conversations with people and suddenly was offered a job as a supply teacher. So I got a few hours here and there, and then within a week, they gave me a full-time position. And I share this story because I remember that feeling in my gut of every day facing the computer, looking at job postings and feeling really down on my job search, down on myself. It was hard to stay motivated. I meet a lot of grad students who talk about their job search and talk about how it's hard to stay motivated. And right now, people can't pick up their resume and go and knock on doors and drop off their resumes. We're in a reality that's challenging. The pandemic has definitely impacted a lot of our mental health and well-being in many ways. So it's hard to be motivated in general for things right now. So I definitely approached my job search very differently when I did my master's degree. Afterwards, or during my master's degree, even before, I made sure I was talking to people. I knew at that point that I wanted to go into career counseling in universities. I interviewed people who were career counselors at universities before even starting my master's to make sure it was really the career direction for me. And during my master's degree, I networked with people. I asked them, how did you get into a career counseling role? And what did you do to prepare yourself? And people shared their stories with me, and it was so helpful. We got to know one another. I learned what they did, where they volunteered, how they built up their resume, who they talked to find job opportunities. And that made a huge difference for me. By the time I graduated, I'd already connected with so many different career counselors at so many different universities that it became so much easier for me to job search at that time. It was a very different time than sitting in a dark basement and not really having any connections. So I share this story with you because first of all, to share that I empathize with the challenges in job search, and that it is a long process. Some people take up to 6 months for their job search. And so I think it's important to remember that pacing yourself is really important for well-being. So starting early if you can, and those of you who are in the audience, if you're already close to graduation, you feel like, oh no, I haven't started early, that's okay. Start whenever you can. And remember, you're probably balancing your job search along with your thesis writing or your coursework and your project work and exams. And there's so much going on. And we're living through a pandemic, right? So making sure you're organizing your time so that it works for you and works for all the other pieces in your life that are important. And be kind to yourself. Remember that this is a challenge. Job searching is not an easy task. And so, as you're doing things, reward yourself. If you attended a networking session or you reached out to someone and had a phone chat with someone, reward yourself. Celebrate those successes, and surround yourself with people who are going to be supportive to you, whether that's a friend, a mentor, other people who are job searching, who are in the same situation as you, who can empathize with you, or people who can advise you, such as career advisors at the Center for Career Action. Use the folks around you who can support you, encourage you, motivate you. And then finally, taking care of yourself is so important. We know that natural light is so helpful for mental health and well-being. Now I make sure that I work near a window. It makes a big difference on my happiness and well-being. But whether taking care of yourself looks like meditating or doing yoga or exercising or getting fresh air or talking to a person you care about every day or something, whatever it looks like for you, I think it's important to build that strategy into your job search. It's not just about sending out resumes and cover letters and networking. It's also about organizing your day and your time in a way that is nurturing and taking care of yourself, because frankly, job search takes stamina and energy, and you need to be well to do that. So I wondered if we could try out, just to engage the audience a little wee bit, maybe some of you who are staff who would like to participate as well. If you're not job searching right now, those of you who are job searching, I want you to think about a time maybe when you were job searching. Think about, what did you do for self-care? And if you aren't doing anything for self-care right now, maybe think about something you could do, something you could add to your strategy that would help take care of yourself, your mental well-being, your physical well-being, your spiritual well-being, so that you have the energy and stamina to job search. So what I've put up here is a survey. It's anonymous. It's on menti.com. So if you go to www.menti.com and log in with the code 301433 if those of you in the audience would be willing to do that on either on your cell phone or on another browser, if you log into that, and maybe share with the group, what is your strategy? How are you maintaining energy? How are you taking care of yourself while job searching? What is working for you? And I'll give everyone a moment right now to try the survey. And staff, you're welcome to do this as well. I'm sure maybe you've been in a work search situation. Maybe you can talk about a time that you were work searching. If there's a tip, this is anonymous, so it'll come up on the screen without your name. It's not coming up on the screen, so maybe people need a moment. Or maybe if I'll just go to menti.com and check the survey, see if it's working. Menti.com. And I don't think the answers are coming up on the slide. I just typed something and that's not showing up. Let me see if I can refresh the page and if anything comes up. No. Oh, what a shame. Sometimes I'm remembering now another session I did on WebEx. Sometimes this does not work very well on WebEx, so it doesn't seem to be refreshing and sharing the results of the survey. I had really hoped to see some wonderful ideas of self-care. Let me try one more time. Nothing's coming up. Okay. Oh, here we go. Yes. Wonderful. I just had to be patient. Okay. Thank you everyone for sharing. So we've got here taking breaks in between submitting applications. I think that's great. That is so wonderful. Taking your breaks, taking a screen break, getting away from the computer, spending a lot of time at a desk at home. So I try to take a few breaks every day to do stretching and yoga. Fantastic. Yes, we all know that sitting all day is not good for us, not great for our energy, our well-being, for our body. So stretching and yoga, fantastic idea. Short walk, it's nice to get fresh air. I fully agree that that works for a lot of us, getting that fresh air to re-energize. Walking every day, there's another walker in the audience, and pacing myself by taking 30 minutes to 1 hour each evening on job search. This way I can make sure I have time allotted so that I'm not stressing about it and interfering with my other commitments during the day. I like that. Scheduling is such an important thing. I definitely encourage everyone in the audience to think about that. How are you organizing your time? If you start early and you just dedicate 30 to 60 minutes a day, that can be really great. That adds up to a lot of time every week, but it's little chunks here and there that might be more manageable than what I was doing. That story I shared with you, where I was spending 8 hours in a dark basement online applying for things that just wasn't working out. So I like the idea of pacing yourself. This one was mine. Typo. I realized as I was typing into my cell phone, meditation. That's what that's supposed to say. So that is definitely a strategy that has helped me stay in the present moment and not get too anxious about thinking too much about what ifs, all the what ifs, and what might happen with my job search, or thinking a little bit about the past, or regretting, oh, why did I say this in my application, or why didn't that work out, or so on and so forth. So meditation is one of my strategies. Thanks everyone for sharing. I really encourage you of thinking about what does self-care mean for you? What can you do to maintain that energy and that motivation? Keeping that motivation going is paramount for your well-being during your job search. And we're here at the Center for Career Action to help you throughout if you find you need a little more support during your job search. And I'll share at the end of the workshop how we can support you. So thanks again for sharing on Mentimeter. I'm going to cover a few things today, specifically focused on networking as a strategy for job search, because time and time again, research has shown that networking really is one of the best job search strategies. And I'll introduce a few ideas for online and virtual networking, because so many things are currently online and not happening in person. I will share a few ideas. I will definitely touch on how you can use the Center for Career Action tools and supports, because what I want to say about today's workshop or presentation is that I'm going to be going into surface level detail only about a topic that normally I cover in a 2-hour workshop. So we have lots of workshops at the Center for Career Action and normally devote a full 90 minutes or 2 hours to some of these topics that I'm covering today. So if you wish to go into further detail, I will share with you at the end how you can access different online tools, online workshops, and live workshops, and one-on-one supports for these topics. So let me begin with what is networking? I'll share my definition of networking, and then I'm going to share with you why it's useful as a job search tool, but useful in general. Sometimes the word networking has a negative reputation, I find. Some people have negative associations with networking. Maybe they see it as sort of using people to find a job. And I think one of the most important things in job searching is sort of reframing the word networking and remembering that what networking means is just building relationships, building rapport with people. And in your career context, networking is building rapport, building relationship with people, building connections with people who are in your field, people who are working in companies that interest you, people who have job titles and who are working and doing jobs that interest you. That's really what networking is just getting to know people and allowing them to get to know you. The end result might be, it might help you speed up your job search process and you might be offered a job in the process, but that is not the only purpose of networking. Networking is useful for so many reasons. I imagine there might be some of you listening in to the recording or listening live who aren't quite sure yet exactly what you want to do when you graduate or when you wrap up your postdoc. And so networking is a really great way to learn more about what's out there, what opportunities exist, what are jobs like, what's the company culture in certain organizations that you're interested in. Really helps you learn more about your field. And it connects you to important people in your field, which is helpful. As you learn from them, they can learn from you. They might be able to connect you with opportunities. As you learn from folks, you can help make decisions based on the information you're gathering when you're connecting with people. So those of you who are still in a career decision-making process, networking is really useful for that. It helps you understand where are the opportunities, which opportunities match your interests, your values, your skills, and so on. And every time you network with someone, you share your personal story. You have to introduce yourself. You have to talk a little bit about why are you networking with this person? What are you studying? What are you researching? What do you care about? Why are you interested in connecting with them? And every time you articulate your personal story, this is a really helpful skill in your job search. The more comfortable you get at this, the more it prepares you for interviews. In interviews, we're always sharing our personal story, who we are, what we're good at, what we enjoy, what skills we've gained through our education, and so on. So this networking process can be really helpful practice to preparing for interviews, but also helping you articulate your story is helpful for preparing for cover letter writing, and so on. And as you share your story, people get to know you, and you're strengthening your reputation with people who could potentially employ you in the future, people who can connect you with employers. And that gets me to my final point, and I have an image to show you about this. When you network, when you build relationships with people in your field, you have the potential to unlock the hidden job market. And I'm going to talk a little bit about that using an image. What exactly is the hidden job market? There are a lot of jobs that are never posted online. Or there are jobs that are posted online, but before they've been posted, people have known about them, and you could have the potential of maybe being able to be considered for those jobs before they get posted online, before many people compete for them. So I want to ask you a question before I show you the next image. When you job search, wow, I did not mean to, I think I just flipped through my entire presentation. I don't know how that happened. Oh, I know how that happened. I dropped my pen on my keyboard. Okay. Sorry, technical glitches today. I just roll with them. Let me jump back to, the image. I'm going to ask you a question as I'm doing this. When you job search, what is the first thing you do? My guess is that, like me, you go to job boards first when you're job searching. And most people will job search online first. I'm going to share with you a little down here in this triangle. I want to talk to you a little bit about how people hire. And when you understand how people hire, it can be very helpful in sort of switching up your job search strategy if you spend most of your time online. Let's imagine I'm a manager in a team, and I have to hire someone. There's an opening in my team, maybe because our company's expanding. Maybe there's an opening on my team because someone retired or someone quit or someone went on parental leave. So I have an opening and I have to fill it. As a manager, probably my first strategy, in fact, we know from research, it shows that most people will hire someone whose work they've already seen. So a manager will look first internally. Who can take on this project? Who can take on this opening? Is there an intern that we could hire? Or is there someone on a contract job that we can hire full-time to take this position? Or is there someone who's due for a promotion that could jump into this position? So people like to hire someone that they already trust, they already know they do good work, they already know maybe they're familiar with the organization or with the field. So this is how people first start to hire. And then the next strategy, if I can't fill the position that way, I might then ask my colleagues or a friend or a recruitment agency, do you know anyone who could do this work? And if a colleague says to me, yes, I think I know someone, you should read so-and-so's resume. Or yes, I had a classmate who was really good at that. We graduated together 5 years ago. You should contact them. These referrals are really helpful. Many managers trust their colleagues and their friends and recruitment agencies. So if someone says, yes, I think I know someone who'd be good, they might read those resumes first. And then the last resort, if they still haven't found anyone to fill the job, they might post the job ad on a job board, and they might screen resumes that are anonymous resumes that are coming in on the internet. That's usually the last resort. So most people hire internally first or through referrals, and then as a very last resort, some jobs would be hired through looking through online resumes. Now, Where do most of us job search? Most of us are looking online. This is sort of the last resort for many people who are hiring. And I should say that's not the case for all organizations, but there's some places that always post their jobs online, such as government and universities and hospitals. So many public spaces, public organizations post their jobs online, but they may all have a process where they hire internally first before they hire someone who has applied externally online. Most of us who are job searching, we spend our time online, and only a few of us might spend our time seeking referrals from friends and colleagues. So seeking referrals is when you tell all your friends and family, I'm looking for work in this and this and this. Do you know anyone? Or is there anyone hiring? Or these are the companies I want to work in. Do you know anyone who works there? Could you introduce me to anyone? This is sort of what only a smaller percentage of people do. And then the very smaller group of people who are job searching will develop relationships with target employers. And so this is where the goal is. This is where if you develop relationships and start to get to know people in companies that interest you and in the organizations and the fields that interest you, this can be really helpful, because you might even be able to be considered for a job before it's ever posted or before it even exists. And here's an example of that. When we talk about hidden job market, sometimes opportunities are not available just yet, but an employer or employees in that company know it will exist soon. So for example, I had colleagues who retired this summer. There were 2 people who retired, and I knew that our center was going to be hiring soon. So if someone reached out to me a few months before that and asked me, is the Center for Career Action hiring? I would be able to say, oh, not right now, but you should check in the fall. I know we'll have some positions open in the fall. So I knew ahead of time that people were retiring. We knew actually almost a year ahead of time that people were retiring. We always know ahead of time if someone's going on parental leave, and so on. So these are some opportunities that you might be able to find out about before they ever get posted online, and that can be really helpful. So how do we network with the right people? How do we know who to network with? Well, that's a great question. And something to think about is it starts really with research. And I know as grad students and postdocs in the audience, you're good at researching. So researching for job search means identifying who are the companies, who are the organizations that are hiring in your field. What kinds of opportunities exist? What kinds of groups or professional associations do these companies take part in? And are there people you can reach out to already in your network? Maybe previous connections, people you've worked with, people you've met, acquaintances, friends of friends that might already be connected to this field that you could talk to. Starting with some research too about what skills employers are currently looking for in your field can be really helpful, because then you might have something to talk about, or what values do they want their employees to have, so that you have some topics to connect with when you're reaching out to people. And staying up to date. Research really is all about staying up to date, scanning the news for important information in your field. What's happening? Are there new projects? Are certain organizations getting certain funding to work on certain projects? The companies you're interested in, if you follow them on LinkedIn or Twitter or other social media platforms, you'll always be up to date on what's happening with them. Are they hiring? Is there a merger between 2 important companies in your field of interest? That sort of thing is really important to stay on top of. Once you have a sense of the organizations you're interested in, then you want to think of, how can I meet people from that organization? And I want to share a little bit about some virtual opportunities that are happening that you can take part in. Many networking sessions happen before the pandemic in person, but they're still continuing to happen in an online virtual platform. And so one important opportunity I wanted to share with you is we have a number of sessions where recruiters used to come on campus and do a recruitment session. They would talk about opportunities that they have for students, and then there would be a networking session afterwards. These sessions are all happening online now, and they're all available for registration on Waterloo Works. So it's waterlooworks.uwaterloo.ca. If you look in the sidebar, you'll see that we have employer information sessions running specifically September, October. We have a lot of them, and January and February. I shared a screenshot here of sessions that were happening in October, and in October we had about 3 or 4 sessions per day. A lot of different companies, many of them recruiting in STEM, which is very great for you in the audience since you're all MME and ECE students. So you can click on the calendar, see if any of the companies you're interested in are coming. I say coming to campus, even though they're not coming in person, but are they hosting an event for people on our campus? And usually those events will still be a recruiter recruiter, a human resources personnel, talking about the company, talking about opportunities. And I always encourage people, after you've listened or after you attended a virtual event like this, take note of the names of the recruiter, take notes of the names of any of the presenters, and see if you could connect with them afterwards. Send them a message on LinkedIn or email and say, thank you so much for the session you provided at UWaterloo today. I hope we can stay in touch. I'm really interested in XYZ position or something like this. So use these networking sessions to make new connections, to find people to talk to who are in the companies that interest you. So there's one option, looking on Waterloo Works. Another option is trying to find hubs or organizations that host virtual events to get together people in your area of interest. And I'm sharing one here that is a local one. Communitech is a hub for the tech companies in the Kitchener-Waterloo area, and they host events, networking events, training, all kinds of different opportunities. And now all of those have changed to virtual platforms as well. They're not happening in person. So it's a great opportunity for those of you who are studying elsewhere. I imagine many of you in the audience are not in Waterloo right now, but maybe you want to work for a company in Waterloo. And this is a great way to network with people in KW, Kitchener-Waterloo, without even being here. So many of these opportunities are virtual. I just shared a screenshot of events for December, but they're happening every month. And so you can see, is there an event that maybe suits your schedule, that suits your interest? And again, during these events, pay attention to who's participating, who are the presenters. Is there someone you can message afterwards and say, thank you for the presentation or thanks for the information session? And maybe you can even ask them if they'd be willing to have a chat with you. And I'll talk a little more about those chats later on. Other places you can check for virtual online events. There are so many different professional associations and organizations that exist that are also hosting employment and career-related events. So just one opportunity, for example, the Ontario Society of Professional Engineers has employment events. They have job fairs and so on. And I went to their page, and a lot of their information right now is also changing to a virtual platform. So online events, online networking opportunities. So perhaps there's an association that's specific to your area of interest, maybe checking out if there's, a mechanical engineering organization, or maybe think about the area you want to work in. Maybe you don't want to work in Ontario. Maybe there's another area. Do a Google search and see if there's a professional associations for engineers in your area of interest in that particular geographic region. So many of these places are doing events and they're holding them virtually. I also see a lot of them doing events for students. So if there are certain companies you're really interested in, check their websites and see if they're hosting recruitment events for students. They might not be hosting them on Waterloo Works. They might not be specific to Waterloo students, but they might be for a general audience. So search those companies, go to their website, check the career section, check the student section on their website, and see if they're hosting anything. And I recommend that you check these sorts of things frequently because, if you check just once, there might not be any events, but if you put a note in your calendar to check once every few weeks, there might be events happening. Another possibility for finding events and networking with others, I wanted to share some platforms that you might be familiar with. You've probably attended something that was booked through Eventbrite, or maybe even Meetup. So meetup.com and eventbrite.ca are also places where I found that a lot of students have had success in finding events where they can network with potential employers or with people who are in the same situation as them, people who share similar skills and interests. So meetup.com is actually a platform that was created for people to meet up over interest topics. So I've seen lots of meetups on topics like yoga or hiking or learning another language. And there happen to be a lot of meetups, though, that also are specific to career areas. So I searched meetups for keyword engineering in the Kitchener area, and a few different events popped up. And then on Eventbrite, I searched specific keyword. I went more specific there. Instead of generally engineering, I searched electrical and computer engineering and found a few events. So the wonderful thing, the challenge right now, I guess, is that no events are happening in person. But the wonderful thing is that we have technology that brings people together from all areas. And so, if you are hoping to network with people in a place where you're not living right now, I actually think there are so many events right now that can bring people together. And Eventbrite and Meetup.com are just two possibilities where you might find those events. So in addition to checking company websites, checking Waterloo Works employer information sessions, checking different associations, checking different social media platforms like Meetup or event space, booking space. These are some possibilities for finding remote virtual networking opportunities. Another suggestion that we always talk about, and we go into more detail in our networking workshops, is finding alumni and talking to them, or even just learning about their paths from their LinkedIn page. So if you're on LinkedIn, I highly recommend that you visit the University of Waterloo LinkedIn page. When you go to an organization's page on LinkedIn, you can search a little bit about them or jobs that are posted there. And if you click on alumni, you will see a list of all the alumni from that institution who have a LinkedIn profile. So keep in mind, there are probably a lot of alumni who are not on LinkedIn, but when you do an alumni search on LinkedIn for U Waterloo, there are over 160,000 alumni listed. You can search by keywords. So you can very specifically search a computer engineering grad or an ECE grad or an MME grad or keyword mechatronics, whatever you want. But you can also search by field of study. So there is under the next, you'll see options. You can click on the field of study and it will bring up the profiles of alumni who've graduated from your program. Why do I recommend reaching out to alumni? I've heard a lot of people say that alumni are often willing to help people out who've been in their because they've been in your shoes, they've been in your situation, they understand what it's like. I encourage you to look at their alumni profiles for a number of reasons. When you are in a job search, it can be helpful to see what have alumni, what have grads from my PhD program or from my master's program, what have they done after graduation? So when you find those when you find the alumni profiles, you can look at what job title they have currently, what company are they working for, what company did they work for after they graduated, and maybe make note of those organizations. Those are companies you may want to think about. Okay, those are the companies who are hiring UW grads from this field, and maybe worth looking into those companies a little more. Next, look at their job title. Maybe that gives you ideas if you're still kind of exploring what to do with your degree. Okay, what are some areas, what could I consider doing? And then as a final option, you could reach out to alumni and ask them if they have time to chat with you. And I want to share that next about, it's a networking strategy called informational interviews. What is an informational interview? It's a chat with someone where you're gathering information. It's really like a research interview, and you can do them virtually. A lot of these chats usually happen in a coffee shop over coffee or during a conference. These days, everything's happening on Zoom or Skype or telephone, and those are working out really well. I meet a lot of students who've been telling me they're having lots of success with doing these informational interviews virtually. So they're still happening. But what it is gathering information about a company or about a position, a job, and intentionally growing your network. And I'm talking a little bit about reaching out to alumni, but I also encourage you to start with people you know. An informational interview is where you're specifically gathering information that would help you in your job search or your career decision making. It's you asking them a little bit about what is their job like, what is their work culture like. So you're not necessarily reaching out to ask them for a job. You're reaching out to build a relationship, to get to know them and to get to know their work and what they do. And in the process, as you're building a rapport, you might gather some advice from them. You might also gather some helpful information for your job search. So start with people you know, such as professors or classmates. You might have family or friends or past colleagues. Maybe you chat, when you meet them, you chat about other things. You chat about your coursework or what's going on for you personally, but maybe you haven't asked them what their job is like. Maybe you don't actually know what their day-to-day job looks like or what it's like to work in their company. So setting aside a specific time to chat with them and ask them a little bit about their job or their career, that could be really helpful. And then the idea is to try to network with employees at companies you'd like to work for, and starting with alumni can be really helpful. Alumni are often willing to help people from their university. So here's an example of how you might reach out to someone for this request. If I find someone on LinkedIn, or if I have their email address, I might introduce myself first. I want to share with them, who am I? Then I want to share with them, how do they get their name or their contact info? And what is my request? What is my call to action? Am I reaching out because I want advice from them? Am I reaching out because I want them to introduce me to someone? Am I reaching out because I hope to have a conversation with them? I want to make sure that I'm clear in my email about those things. So this is a sample script, and this is how it goes. Dear so-and-so, my name is Kira. I'm researching companies in the blank field. So let's say I'm in the automotive field. I want to work in the car industry. So my name is Kira. I'm researching companies in the car industry, in the automotive industry. I'm currently completing my master's in mechanical mechatronics engineering at the University of Waterloo, with a particular interest in, let's say it's autonomous vehicles. I hope you don't mind my contacting you. I found your name on LinkedIn and I noticed you're an alumnus of Waterloo. Here's the request. Would you be willing to have a 20 to 30 minute Zoom meeting with me to talk about your experience in the automotive sector? I've done my research, but reports and websites can only tell me so much, and your practical insights would be much appreciated. If we don't connect, I'll contact you again in a week in case that's a better time. So you see this introduction is a brief intro about who am I, what am I studying, what do I care about, what's important to me, and then mentioning that I found them on LinkedIn because they graduated from Waterloo, and my request, would you be willing to spend 20 to 30 minutes? So I'm requesting an information interview. I know that if you reach out on LinkedIn, you might have fewer words or characters to write this message, but you can always personalize a LinkedIn request. I highly recommend that. If you send a LinkedIn request to someone who doesn't know you and you don't personalize it, LinkedIn sends a default message that just says, I'd like to add you on, I'd like to add you to my network. And if people don't know why you want to add them to the network, they may not respond if they don't recognize your name or don't know you. So always personalize. Tell them how you found them. Tell them why you want to connect. Tell them, what it is that you're hoping to get out of a connection. And if they agree to a 20 to 30 minute Zoom meeting or Skype meeting to chat with you, here's what you could ask in an informational interview. There are lots of possibilities, but you can ask about their background. I always encourage, remember, networking is all about building rapport, building connections, building relationships. And to do that, it's helpful to ask the person about their background, maybe learn about their career story. So, asking them, how did you transition from grad school to this career? What was that transition like? Which skills are you using the most from your grad program or from your postdoc? And maybe asking them a little bit about their job search. How did you find this job? What worked for you when you were job searching? So learning what helped that person might give you some information that could be useful for your job search and career decision making. You may have some curiosities about their day-to-day job, maybe asking them, what does a typical day look like? What is the work environment like in their company? What's the work culture like? What are some of the expectations? What are some of the projects they're working on that they're really excited about? What are some of the challenges that they're experiencing in their job? Are they working remotely right now? What is that like for them in their profession? And then once you've kind of built that rapport, transitioning maybe more into questions for recommendations for you, advice. So maybe asking, as someone who is graduating soon in this field, what are your recommendations? How can I stand out in my resume? Do you have any suggestions on where I should be looking for work, or any suggestions on what I can be doing right now to get my foot in the door? Maybe asking about possible opportunities. So, does your organization have any part-time volunteer opportunities, internships, etc.? And then always asking with a final question, I always encourage people to say, is there anyone else you'd recommend that I talk to? Because hopefully they will introduce you to someone else who will then, again, you keep growing your network. That is the idea. Informational interviews, a lot of students have told me they're surprised how many people are willing to do these interviews with them, especially if you frame it as, I'm a current student, or I'm a current postdoc, I'm exploring opportunities. I'd love to learn more about your career and your career story. So many people are willing to share their story and help someone out. Remember, these informational interviews, they are not necessarily asking for a job. You're not reaching out to ask for a job. You're reaching out to build rapport and get to know someone. And in the process of getting to know them, right, you're sharing with them that you're looking for opportunities. If they had a good rapport with you, or if they know of opportunities, hopefully they would tell you about that, or they will introduce you to someone who does have opportunities. That is the idea with the informational interviews. I'm going to transition now into, I'm just looking at the time and realize Yeah, I'm going to quickly share some of the resources now. I've done a really quick summary of networking online and different platforms, different group and individual one-on-one sort of formats. And now I'd like to share with you some other resources at the Center for Career Action to help with your job search. Sam is going to help me and post some things in the chat. I want to share the link to Waterloo Works because I mentioned the employer information sessions there, but also Waterloo Works has a job board. So there are jobs posted there that are full-time jobs. There's an other job board, which is part-time jobs, seasonal jobs, volunteer jobs, and we have a link to external job boards. Just keep in mind, remember what I said about how helpful networking is. Most people, many people, 70 to 80% of people get their jobs through networking. So if you're spending time on job boards, I would recommend, limit that time. If someone said they spend about an hour a day job searching, I would suggest breaking up that time, only spending some of that time online on job boards and the rest of the time trying to network, reach out, email people, try to arrange phone calls with people or Zoom calls. That would be my recommendation, or try to attend networking sessions, information sessions as part of your strategy as well. Next, I want to share how you can connect with the Center for Career Action for further support. So you're not in this job search alone. We are here. We're working remotely to support you. We have a number of ways that you can connect with us. The Center for Career Action supports all students, undergrads, regular co-op students, master's, PhD students, postdocs. We also support alumni. So after you've graduated, if you want to connect with our alumni career advisor, there's someone to support you. We support staff and faculty also can book with our employee career advisor. And we can help you further with these job search tactics, networking strategies, your LinkedIn platform, resume, cover letter writing, interview prep. If you're still deciding on careers, career exploration, we help with that. And if you're thinking of applying to a further degree, if you're applying to professional school, or you're applying from master's to PhD and you need help with your application, we have three advisors who do further education support. We help people one-on-one. All of our appointments are virtual right now through Waterloo Works. We can also do phone appointments. We can do Zoom or Skype, whatever works for you. We have drop-ins every day, and we have a number of live workshops. As I mentioned, many of our workshops are almost 2 hours, 1.5 to 2 hours, and they go into more detail than what I've covered here today. If you can't attend any of our workshops, we do have asynchronous workshops if you're in a different time zone, and we have online resources. So I think Sam shared our career hub and the link to our asynchronous workshops. So reach out to us if for some reason you're on Waterloo Works and you can't register for an event because it doesn't fit your course schedule or your time zone, or you can't book an appointment for that reason. Please contact us. Our front desk has a live chat. You can go to our homepage and live chat with our front desk, or send an email, and we will find a way to support you in any way we can. We've been creative about reaching people in different time zones and so on. So please let us know. That said, if there's a workshop that doesn't fit your schedule and you want to attend that workshop asynchronously at your own leisure, any time of day, Sam has shared the link to asynchronous workshops available. There's resumes, cover letters, interviewing. These are developed specifically by my colleague Phil and I for grad students and postdocs. And there's also a number of things on academic career development. If you're hoping to become a faculty member and you're applying for academic positions, we have academic CVs, cover letters, and interviews as well in our asynchronous workshops. You'll see that we have 2 on networking to job search, and networking at conferences specifically. So if you want to go into more detail, I highly recommend those asynchronous workshops. And finally, our Career Hub, which has resources for all students and staff. It's not geared specifically to grad students. It's geared to all people on the topics of career decision-making, applying, finding work, success at work, further education, and identifying your skills from your degree. So lots of ways that you can connect with the CCA remotely. And I've now left about 11 minutes for question and answer. I want to make sure, I'm going to check the chat now and see if any questions have come in about job search. I'm also able to use menti.com for question and answers if you wish to ask those questions anonymously. And let me just double check. So I'm checking the chat right now for questions, and I see there is a question about, will we be assigned a specific career advisor? So thanks for the question. That's a great question. There, as mentioned at the beginning, there are only 2 of us who meet with master's, PhD students, and postdocs. So when you book an appointment online, you will either be booking with me or with my colleague Phil. Actually, my colleague Roxy also does some appointments for master's students. So if you're booking, if you're a master's student, you might also meet my colleague Roxy. So I guess there are 3 of us. Roxy has other jobs at the CCA as well, so is not always available for appointments. But you will meet one of the 3 of us, if that answers your question. Are there any other questions? I know I got a question ahead of time about labor market. Leah, you mentioned that someone was asking about labor market. And
I did. And actually, Kira, if I can, definitely want to give you an opportunity to answer that question regarding the labor market, because there was a student that posted a question beforehand. I guess it's a question that the career advisors in our respective departments, EC, MME, often get. Sorry, the academic advisors, I should say, regarding labor market statistics. And I did want to mention to the group as well that once we have an opportunity to ask Kira some questions, we do have representatives from both the MME and ECE GSAs here today to just provide a brief information moment to let you know what's going on in each of your communities at this time. And I should have mentioned that ahead of time, and I apologize for not doing that. It dawned on me afterwards, but yes, sorry, Kira, if you want to speak to the labor market question, that would be wonderful. Thank you.
Yeah, so labor market information is hard for us to gather. I had to email a number of sources to try to get some information, and I'll tell you why it's a little bit hard for us to gather specific information. I reached out to the Alumni Relations Office first, because Alumni Relations often, they do keep in touch with people who've graduated, and they try to find out their job titles and where are they working and so on. However, they don't have information about all everyone who graduated, and they also don't keep track. So if someone changes job titles or changes locations, they don't keep track. So they didn't have any labor market information. I do have a little bit of information from our co-op office, which isn't necessarily applicable to everyone in this office, but in this audience, but I thought it might give a little bit of insight because the co-op department did give me some job titles and some company names of organizations who've hired master's students. And also fourth year undergrad students for co-op. So it's, again, I know not everyone in the audience is in co-op and not everyone in the audience is a master's student. So, but I think it's still indicative of the kinds of companies and the kinds of job titles that you might expect. So for the MME program, some of the job titles that they were seeing, in past have been mechanical engineer, continuous improvement engineer, special projects in automation, built environment systems designer and analyst, CAE software development support, optical algorithms engineer, R&D clean energy, mechatronics, research assistant. Those are some of the job titles, and some of the companies were ANSYS Inc., Atlantic Industries, Concord Screen, Slipper B, and the Ontario Ministry of Energy. For the ECE program, they saw job titles such as software engineering, software developer, full stack developer, electrical engineering, web developer, research assistant. And some of the companies that were hiring students in those areas were Apple, Shopify, BlackBerry, Huawei, Amazon, Microsoft, Loblaw Company, OpenText Corporation, Intel Corporation, and Google. So these are just a few names of job titles and companies. Again, it's very difficult. We don't, at the Center for Career Action, I help a lot of people with their job search, but we often don't hear afterwards what happened, right? I might support people, I might do a practice interview with them, but I never hear, did they get the job or did they not, and so on. And so we don't have that sort of statistic at the Center for Career Action either, but just to give you a little bit of idea. Also, there's a really great resource. Statistics Canada has some great resources and labor market information. So if you want to look up jobbank.gc.ca, you can search by region, you can search job titles and sort of even see information such as, is that job in demand in that area, in that zone, in that province? Whether the wages in that area. So it's jobbank.gc.ca for more labor market information. I'm just looking at the chat, and there's another question here. Is it possible to develop an individual strategy that suits me better when I book an appointment? Absolutely, yes. That is exactly what we do in an appointment. Remember what I was saying at the beginning of, like, it's so important to keep your well-being in mind, and what works for one person might not work for another. There's no one size fits all job search strategy. So, you know, networking, using your strengths to network, I think is really important too. So coming up with a strategy. Some people I meet are not on certain social media platforms, so they may choose not to use LinkedIn, or they may choose not to use certain platforms for their job search. So absolutely, when you book an appointment one-on-one, it's really about figuring out what will work for you. What are your strengths? We also help you, though, come up with a strategy. Maybe there's certain things you haven't tried because you're unsure, and we might help you develop, you know, some skills and some ideas of how to approach that, and help you build up the confidence for certain approaches to your job search. So yes, it is a very individualized strategy. Absolutely. It will also be based on what do you already know, right? We meet some people who are already really clear on what they want or which companies they want to work for. So part of the strategy is really just figuring out how to connect with those organizations, and other people we meet are not sure yet. And so part of the strategy might also still be clarifying the goal. Where do you want to work? What kinds of roles do you want? What values do you have? What matters to you? What kind of organizations interest you? Do you want to work in not-for-profit, for-profit, a startup, a large organization? So there's lots that we can unpack with you to make sure you have an individualized strategy. Just checking. I don't think there are any other questions. Have I missed anything? I'm just double checking. I don't think so. Nothing's come in on menti.com, so I'll just double check. I'll refresh, since last time I had to refresh the page a few times before something came in. I don't think there's there are any questions. No. Okay.
Sorry, Kira, if anybody has any follow-up questions later, are they welcome to email you directly? And
yeah,
okay.
I can share my email again. I shared my email in the opening intro there, but I'll share it again here. kbruschke@uwaterloo.ca. So if you have any questions, feel free to reach out. And as mentioned as well, if you have any questions about our services or how to book something or how to use Waterloo Works, our front desk staff are wonderful. They have a live chat feature. So you can type your question, and it's almost like being at the front desk. They can respond to you within a few minutes to answer your question.
Perfect. Well, thank you so much for presenting today. And as somebody that just graduated from a graduate program recently, I did actually use your services probably about a year ago now, Kira, for the resume building, because it had been a long time since I had brushed off my resume. Again, we won't tell you how long that was. And I think it was Phil actually who assisted me, and it was immensely helpful. So I can say that it's an excellent service, and thank you so much for presenting today. We really appreciate it.
So glad to hear that, Leah. There's so many pieces of job searching, right? Getting your tools ready, your LinkedIn, your resume, your cover letter. That's great. We definitely support people with those pieces, and I'm glad to hear that was useful for you. Thanks.
It was. Thank you so much. And again, if anybody has any follow-up questions for Kira, you're more than happy. You know, you can direct them to Kira or to us, and we can send them along to Kira, and we're happy to make sure that those get answered. So thank you again, Kira. I'd like to call on representatives from our respective GSAs. So we can start, it doesn't matter, with Ben from MEGA, the MME GSA, to provide a bit of information about what's going on there. So Ben, please.
That's great. Thank you, Leah. I just want to make sure everyone can hear me okay, for starters. Good. Excellent. So I'm going to share my screen here. I just have a couple of slides to show. Excellent. Is everyone able to see my slide there okay?
Yep, I think
Excellent.
so.
I think I'm just going to share this in another way, just so that I have my whole monitor. There we go. I think that should be great. All right, thanks so much for having me talk today. As Leah mentioned, my name is Ben, and I'm here representing the MME Graduate Association, also known as MEGA. So I'm excited to talk to everyone about a couple upcoming events that we have. And on the topic of networking, we have a couple exciting events that will hopefully help students in the MME department and in the entire university community come together and connect when it's more difficult to do so. So first of all, I want to tell everyone about a really exciting event we have coming up in March, which is the 4th annual MME Graduate Research Symposium. Obviously, we'll be doing it a little bit different this year, but we're really excited that we're able to host a virtual research symposium that will allow students to present some of their research work. Any MME graduate students are welcome to submit a short abstract, and we'll be able to have a short presentation on their research work, whether you're in the MASC program, PhD, or even MEng if you have a topic which you have done some research in and are interested in presenting. So we'll be hosting this on March 17th and 18th, and we're inviting all MME grad students to please submit some of your work so that you're able to present it. The registration is completely free for presenters, and we're also inviting everyone from the university community to attend to watch the presentations. So there's no registration necessary for anyone who wants to come during the event and watch some of the great presentations. And we'll be sending out some more information closer to the event so that everybody can join and do so. So a couple important things to note for the presenters is that we will be offering some cash prizes for the top 3 presenters, up to $250. And in lieu of an in-person lunch this year, we'll also be offering all presenters a free Uber Eats meal voucher valid during the event. And as I mentioned, we now have the registration open, so you can either follow the QR code here to register, but I might also just attach the link in this chat following my presentation, so that it's a little easier to register for those of you who are attending today. And next, I want to talk about a really great ongoing event that we have, which is our MEGA monthly coffee chats. So every month we're having a 1-hour coffee chat virtually, which allows students to meet and greet with each other. And this is not exclusive just to the MME department. Anyone in the university community is welcome to join. And every month when we do this event, we have a short drawing game with some great Amazon gift card prizes. So if you're looking to get some great prizes, you can come every month and be eligible to do so. So our next event is Friday, February 19th at 1 p.m. And once again, I have the link available for that event, and I hope that everyone here considers attending. And I'll also attach that link in the chat so that you can easily register following the presentation. So if anyone has any questions about these exciting upcoming events or just to connect with us, you can email us at mega@waterloo.ca and also connect with us on Instagram or Facebook. And we also have a newly updated webpage on the UWaterloo website. So please check us out there where you can also access the event links. And if anyone has any questions about the events or about MEGA, please let me know. Thanks so much.
Great, thank you, Ben.
Thank you.
And now I'd like to call on Rabiul, representing the ECE GSA.
Hello, everyone. My office actually. So I can share some content actually, what I wanted to share with all of you. I think all of you can see my screen, right?
Can't see anything yet.
Oh, okay. Maybe share.
Oh, now something's coming up.
Okay, that's great.
Oh, there we go.
Okay. So I'm going to share some our activities that we have done recently, and we are trying to connect with our GSA members actually. And first of all, what we have actually, what our GSA actually are trying to do actually, trying to organize some social events actually, although due to the pandemic, isn't able to do any social gathering. And also we are trying to, we are participating to develop some policies actually, which we are trying to develop for our graduate students. And there are two more things we are trying to, as a GSA, we are trying to assisting with the academic activities and exchange of information for our graduate students. These are the focus of our GSA teams that we are doing for our GSA members or for our graduate students in EC department. And I would like to actually I'm sharing who we are actually, who are the members actually. The Musgan is the ECGSA chair, and all of the members of the ECGSA. Then of the Khaira is the ECGSA representative, and I am the ECGSA social convener. And we have a TA representative, the Mahmoud and Hexia, and Maria with the ECGSA Graduate Studies Committee representative. These all are the members of the ECGSA, current ECGSA team members, and we also discussed about some of the issues last couple of months actually, since we didn't have a social gathering, but we are discussing some of the agenda that it's very important for us. First of all, the FWE award actually, the FWE award has been given the student who published a paper or a research paper or at least 2 conference papers during a term. And we are trying to figure out how it should be given, whether it basis on the whether we fix the amount of the number or whether we fix the amount of the price actually. Also, we discussed about some TA issues and also non-departmental TA issues, and we are discussing one of the surveys since we didn't have any social gathering during the pandemic. So how can we collect the information from the students? That's why we are trying to gathering some survey from the students. These are we discussing during the last couple of months actually after. And here are some of the useful links for our GSA, like you can find out. And if you have any information, if you wanted to ask any questions, then you can ask at the GSA at ego@lu.ca. These are the email you can reach to us actually. And finally, I would like to actually conclude actually that thank you for your precious time, and I'm just happy if you guys have any query or if you have anything, I can, or as a always be here to help all of you actually. And I would like to thank Kira for her useful information or valuable information, as well as Ben for his for the MME graduate MME representative actually. Also her nice events they were trying to arrange for during the pandemic. We're also trying to by motivating from his presentation, I think ECGSA can also take some virtual symposium as well, or also virtual events. I believe helpful for us to socialize actually, even though we are not physically, but we can virtually together actually. And yeah, thank you. I don't want to take more time, and thank you for all of your precious time.
Great, thank you, Raviul. And again, I just want to thank everybody for attending today. Thank Kira for her fantastic presentation on networking opportunities. Again, it's such a different atmosphere right now, given the pandemic, the fact that we're all living behind screens most of the time. So networking has taken on a whole different look right now, but it's so encouraging to know that it's still very possible. And to be able to get out there and meet employers and kind of gauge what's going on in your field. So thank you for bringing that to us, Kira. And thank you both, Raviul and Ben, for letting us know what's been going on in the GSAs and like Raviul said, how we can get more involved as a community and the coffee chats that Ben was talking about, like so many good things going on. In both departments to build community and build that sense of belonging and bring people together. So thank you for taking the time today, everyone, and thank you to our presenters.
Thank you. I also would like to thank you, Leah, actually, for giving me the scope to present my work, actually.
Sorry?
I would like to thank you as well, you actually, because you are collaborating with us actually to represent us in front of the audience actually.
Yes, no, we're more than happy to do that. This is your program, what you're studying. We want it to come from you, both MME, EC, all engineering students. It's about what's working for you, and we want to make this about you. So thank you, Raviul.
Okay.
And thank you. Have a great day, everyone.
Everyone. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Take care, everyone.
Bye.